Hey, this is David, the RV Shepherd. Today we're looking at a 2021 Tiffin Allegro Bus 40IP. This is a nice looking unit, diesel pusher, got some slide outs, and it has a hidden problem that most people would not know unless you knew what you were looking for. Even my client said, when I first saw some of this information, I thought, well, that's a good thing. And I didn't think to ask the question, why is it this way? Why is it not the same all the way through? We'll cover that and some more details in this inspection. Let's go take a look at this Tiffin Allegro Bus 40IP. One of the first things we do when we come to an RV is check the VIN data plate to make sure we're looking at the right RV, especially when you're at a dealership, because sometimes there can be multiple rigs that are the exact same year, make, and model. It's not as common in used ones, but I have had it recently where I actually got brought the wrong RV, and so we always check the VIN data plate first, and it was a little bit difficult on this one. You'll see why here in just a second. The VIN data plate on this RV was completely faded. It's hard to tell, but that's it. This is what has the manufacturer date. It has the VIN number. It has a serial number. Now you can see there's another little thing right here that does have the VIN and the serial number, so that's good. But this one has all the manufacturer info on there. On the rear slide out, on the driver's side, which is a Schwintek slide out, there were 3 screws missing, where each one of those arrows are. And if I zoom in a little bit closer, you can see there's no screw there. There's no screws here. And it almost looks like there's never been a screw in those. So I thought that was quite interesting. And then this is where I started to see some other issues that I think are all connected. And this is the big issue, if you want to call it, that this particular RV had. One was this very back bay. This is the furthest back bay on the passenger side. The bottom of the door is bent. And this is that door. There's all the doors on the side, right? And then when this back left door is the one that has that bend, and then you can see there's a misalignment of these doors as well. So that was the first thing I noticed that made me raise an eyebrow. This was the big thing that I found in this particular RV. The top inside the wheel well on the passenger side showed obvious signs of tire damage. The top, they're labeled right there where it says the top of the wheel well. It's got all this banged up, and some of this right there where that little sign is that says top of wheel well, that's actually wood right behind that the text in that yellow box right there. And so you've got several layers of protective covering over that. Plus I think there's some metal missing, because this just looks like a big box now. There's no scoop or anything for the tires. It just looks really weird. And then further down in this image you can see the behind the tire. So this is kind of the back, almost like a mud flap, but again, there should be some kind of scoop or something in there. This is another picture of the same area looking straight up. On the left side of this red box, you can kind of see some bent up metal. And this was kind of curious because this is actually on the driver's side. There's a fender that kind of comes across and it stops, and there's this bracket, and then to the right of that fender is nothing. But that goes towards the aft of the tire, which if you're driving down the road, the rear, the aft part of the tire is the part that's going to pick up stuff and fling it up there. Hey, let me add a little piece of information here real quick that I forgot to mention. The front tires on this RV were dated 2021. They were the original tires. All 4 of the back tires were dated July 2024, meaning they were all brand new tires. And his first thought was, oh, that's a great thing. It's got 4 brand new tires on the back. but he wasn't asking. And until I started doing the inspection, I wasn't asking. He's like, wait a minute, why are the back tires new? There's no reason that the front tires, the original tires, are not even anywhere near old enough to be replaced. And so something must have happened. And that's what helped me start digging in a little bit deeper to see what was the issue on this particular RV. So I thought that was really weird too. This one's difficult to see what's going on, but this is in the same area where that tire failure damage was. This is actually looking between the back of the rear driver's tire on the passenger side. So the passenger side, back tires, those dually tires, that's just to the right of this picture, and to the left is just the metal of that storage bay. And what we're looking at where that rectangle is, that red rectangle, is the spring that helps the hydraulic jacks come back up. Now, I don't have a video of it, but when we deployed the jacks the first time, there was a really loud pop bang sound, like a boom. And then everything seemed fine. We're like, oh, we stopped everything, looked around, make sure everything was okay. We continued. We brought them back up. We put them down again. We did not get the loud boom that time, but we did get some rubbing noise, which I think was coming from this spring rubbing up against it. And here's why this might be important, is because we're in the same area where there's been some tire damage, and it's damaged, if you remember in that part, which damaged the tire well. There's wood that's exposed. There's things that look beat up. And now we've got this jack that also is making some noise, just to make you think, okay, how many things in here are not quite the way they should be? How many things have been banged up and nothing's been done to repair them? So this is something that you want to pay attention to. This is something that you want to be mindful of, that sometimes one problem can be actually just a symptom of another problem, a symptom of another problem. So I hope I'm making sense here, and that these things sometimes are connected. In this RV, we've got a bent storage compartment door, two storage compartment doors that don't line up. We got jacks making noise, specifically just on this side, and that all leads to and points to what we end up finding later, which was tire damage inside the wheel well. So that's a big deal that can cause a lot of damage. A lot of people don't know that tire damage on a big rig like this, these big tires, you've probably seen them driving down the road. You see these, we call them alligators, the tread from an 18-wheelers out there on the road or on the shoulder. Well, that happens. You're going at highway speeds and you have some kind of tire failure. You don't know about it or whatever, and the tire just starts beating up the rig. In this case, the rig is this RV. So you want to make sure that, one, that you have tire pressure monitoring system, which this rig does, but you also want to check if you've had a tire blowout and you went and bop, 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 you're hitting some stuff. You want to make sure and get your rig checked out to find everything that could have been damaged. It may be more than just the tire well, so keep that in mind. This one's not that big of a deal in the sense that it's, well, I tell people this a lot when it comes to problems with RVs, that, just because something's listed as major, or even worse, something as a life safety issue. I actually marked this one as a life safety issue, but just because it's major, just because it's life safety, doesn't mean that it's expensive, time consuming, or even difficult to remedy. In this case, the tire pressure monitoring system for the forward driver's side tire was not talking to the internal unit. So basically you have no idea what the pressure is. And the whole point of a tire pressure monitoring system is to alert you ahead of time that something's going on with your tire. Now, it's not foolproof. It's not everything, it's not everything all the time is going to be exactly what you want it to be. But at least it gives you much more of the potential for a warning before something catastrophic happens. Now, granted, if you run over, if you run backwards through a military gate and all your tires blow at once, this is not going to help you. If you run over something sharp and it ruptures your tire instantaneously, this is not going to help you. Nothing's going to help you in that case. But if you have a slow leak or a tire failure that's starting to happen, Tire pressure monitoring systems can let you know that ahead of time. I'll give you an example. It didn't turn into any kind of blowout or flat tire or anything, but we were driving through. If you've ever driven through Shreveport, Louisiana, I recommend, if you have a big rig, actually if you have any rig, if you're at RV at all, avoid going straight through Shreveport. If you're going east to west, take the northern loop. The road is way better. If you go straight through downtown, the roads like make you start bump, 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 bump after this. And after a while, my tire pressure monitoring system started going off on all my tires. They were not happy. And I think it was just this constant pressure, because the pressure increases when all that weight hits, and then it decreases when it lifts off. And so my monitoring system was seeing some erroneous, crazy pressure readings and started alerting and started beeping and blinking at me. Well, what did I do? I slowed down. I slowed down quite a bit, and it went away, and it normalized, and everything was fine. I'll tell you a story about it just in a regular automobile. In our Honda Pilot one time, I was driving somewhere, and my tire pressure monitoring system started blinking at me. I pulled off the road, and before my tire even got flat enough to worry about, where it starts getting all soft and squishy, I was already off on the shoulder, well off on the shoulder, and stopped. Before I got the tire off, it had gone completely flat. Without that tire pressure monitoring system, you're not going to know that until your tire is flat. And then now it's all squishy, and you're trying to keep your vehicle on the road with 3 tires. Or in the case of an RV, maybe one of your steer tires is out, and so you've only got one good steer tire. Or you don't want to run into the situation where it gets so low and you're still going at a pretty good speed that the tire begins to fall out and cause all kinds of damage in the wheel well. That would be bad. Finally, I had a few spots on the engine. I actually sent these pictures to a diesel mechanic, friend of a friend of mine, and he said he wouldn't be worried about either of these. One, like right here at the flywheel housing, that all that oil is dry. Right here at some kind of sensor connector, if you notice, there is the oil filter right next to it to the right. And so probably when the oil was changed, some leaked off, just didn't get cleaned up very well. This is pretty common on RVs, on Cummins engines, to have an oil pan gasket leak. Again, it's a diesel. Some people are okay with it being messy. It's something that you could definitely keep up with. It's not running down the side. You just keep checking your oil and you'll be fine. But if you want to get it fixed, the owner or the potential owner knows that this oil leak, or a little bit of a leak in the oil pan, and this is at the farthest back edge of it, is there. And then one other place was this, which is the oil fill port. So the tube that goes off to the right is where normally there's a cap, you open it and you pour your oil in right there, and then it comes down to this little connection on the engine. And so just that being really dirty, again, could be as a result of the last time some maintenance was done on it and it just wasn't clean, because you look at the engine around it and it looks really, really clean. So it's really hard to tell if there's a big deal. But either way, on all these, there's not a ongoing, constant, very wet, drippy, oozy kind of look to it. And so it's something that this diesel mechanic, a friend of mine, said, I would just watch. I don't think it's a big deal. I find this kind of somewhat often, so I want to encourage you, if you're watching this, to make sure and check your generator's coolant level often. I don't know what often is, but if you're running it from time to time, if you haven't run it in a while, go check it, and sometimes it's hard to see, so I actually take my camera with the flashlight on my phone and just kind of stick it down in there to see. And this should be full, and what we're seeing in the bottom of this reservoir is just a little bit of coolant, right? So make sure, if you're running your generator, if you haven't run it in a while, check your coolant. If you're running it frequently, then check it once a week, check it once a month, check it sometime, but don't just never check it. That's just not good. The batteries in this unit were basically at end of life. As soon as I put a load on them with the inverter, they went well below 12 volts just immediately. And if you don't know, if you have a 12-volt battery, when you get to 12 volts, you're almost on empty. So you're 12.8, 12.7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You get to 12, and you're pretty much done. And in this RV on the panel, when it went to 11, I can't remember, 11.7, I think it was, or 11.8, it started blinking red. Like the batteries are like, this is no good. So when you get below 12 volts, you're pretty much running on empty on your batteries. So don't do that. This RV had dual Girard armless awnings, which is pretty cool. But the two controllers that are inside the panel, a lot of people don't know this, they're not wired up to anything. They're battery operated RF. Basically, it's just a big square remote. There was another remote that's on a wall inside the front storage bay, and that's how we extended and retracted them. But the inside controllers did not work at all. So check your batteries if your things aren't working, because they're not wired. This window right here would not operate at all. Something was really wrong with it. I don't know if something was stuck in it or just it was stuck or whatever, but if you can see in that red square, that is the upper and lower pane, and those two things should be together when it's locked, but they would not go together. I mean, we couldn't get it to open or shut from the position it was in. And if you look at it from the outside, you could see this bottom window pane was tilting in and the bottom was tilting out. So what happens is when it gets fully seated, that middle part will pop out, and that completely seals the window. And basically the upper pane and the lower pane, the transition right there will be smooth between the two. I'm also not quite sure why we see this sometimes, but we just come across drawers that aren't even attached, and my guess is maybe the previous owner just said, I don't care, or they're tired of it, or I don't know. But this is in a slide out, and this is like a little hamper, it like a trash can kind of thing. It leans out and you can throw stuff in it. But if you look there inside the cavity for that slide out, tip out drawer, I think it's slid out, you can see the slide on the left is not even attached. It's kind of just laying in there. And I just think it's odd that, you know, you're selling an RV. This one actually is at a dealership, so somebody traded it in. Now, I could see why the previous owner, he's just like, hey, I'm just going to trade it in. I don't care, right? But the dealer didn't find this and fix it because, you know, to me, this owner, this buyer, the person buying it, purchasing it, would have just purchased it and drove off and then be like, hey, what's up with this drawer? How come that doesn't work? So I'm just really surprised when I find stuff like this that's so easy. I mean, going through and just pulling and opening every door, every drawer, every little cabinet, opening and shutting it, making sure it works. It's not that hard. Doesn't take that long either. Something you should do if you're looking at an RV. So that does it for this 2021 Tiffin Allegro Bus 40 IP. Those are the issues we found on it. You know, again, a lot of things about it's nice. Here's one thing to think about as you consider any RV you might purchase. It doesn't matter if it's a travel trailer or a 45-foot motor coach. You're going to find the one you like, and you're going to get emotional about it, and you're going to want it. Right? This is the one. This is the one. Don't let the fact that something is really nice and shiny and has all the bells and whistles you want prevent you from looking at the RV with a critical eye and finding the little things that might be wrong with it. Whether you do that yourself or you hire an inspector like me, let us go through it. Let's go through it with a fine-tooth comb and get every little detail that needs to be addressed on a list so that you know. And then what you do with that is totally up to you. If you just say, hey, you know what, I'll buy it and I'll take care of all this stuff on my own, that's fine. Or if you want to get the owner, the current owner or the dealership to fix those things before you give final payment and take delivery, you know, that's a good thing to do too. But either way, if you have the information, now you're a more informed buyer and you can be a more confident buyer. That's what my goal is as RV inspector. RV Shepherd is here to help you have more confidence in your RV buying experience, because you want to have fun, you want to make memories, you want to go on road trips, you want to see the world. What you don't want to do is deal with maintenance issues. There's going to be some anyway, but there's no reason to start off your trip with maintenance issues. Are you thinking about buying an RV, hoping, dreaming, wishing to buy an RV? Then I've got an opportunity for you. I'm about to release my course called How to Buy an RV Without Regret. And in that video course, it's going to walk you through all the things to consider when buying an RV before you even take your first step. It's going to educate you on how to pick out the best RV for your situation, how to write a budget that plans for everything, not just the purchase price, how to go through the sales process at a dealership or with a private owner to know, like, what is the process? What's step 1? What's step 2? What's step 3? And even after that, how to figure out whether or not you're getting the best price and how to know what the true health of that RV is. So that's the How to Buy an RV Without Regret video course. It's coming out soon. Just comment below, I'm looking for an RV, or I'd be interested in that, or something like that to let me know, and I'll reach out to you so that you can sign up and become one of the first people to be notified that that course is released and ready to go. All right, I'm David. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.